Alright, guys. So I left my earbuds in the house. I'm not sure if recording without them is going to be better or worse quality than usual, but we'll find out. Just kind of a recap for today. Like, day in the life of a queer person. I don't really, one of those moments, I just, like, hit record. I don't really have anything to say. But I was like, okay, like, I was thinking about something where I was just like, you know, how does a non-straight person's life differ from a straight person's life? And I'm just not sure if it's always super different, but like, for example, you know, when I got up this morning, I guess from last night, you know, I started listening to this church episode. I like the music. I like the, you know, I don't know. Sermons to me are like whatever, you know. Like, I grew up listening to them so much that it's like there's rarely anything new. But this one was kind of more like, okay, I just want to like fall asleep to something. So the way I kind of pick, even if I'm gonna listen to something churchy, just for motivational purposes and just to kind of, like, it's kind of content that's supposed to be positive and motivational, but also like low key. Like, it's not like hyped up and like supposed to get you like excitable, you know. And I was like, well, I'm trying to sleep, but I didn't want to listen to like one of those meditation things or anything. I was kind of like, I want something a little on the intellectual side, but not so much that like I have to like actually pay attention because I don't know any of the background. So I was like, the easiest thing is something related to church, because I grew up, you know, around it so much that like I have such a depth of background in it. And so even like choices of things I'll listen to like that, like I was kind of like remembering, you know, when I was trying to, you know, like I kind of had something on my heart at one point, like probably at the end of last year sometime, when I was like, oh, I want to like tithe to like the church where my membership is or whatever. I think I got some money from something. I can't remember what it was, but I feel like I got like a chunk of money, and like around the same time I had just gotten an email that they blasted out, that was kind of like this church is kind of like in trouble financially, kind of. And I was like, okay, well, I have money to like donate, so I was gonna give money. And like, this is a whole different church, not the one I was listening to last night, but you know, I was gonna give money, and then it didn't work. Like, something was wrong with the website. I tried with like my debit card, I tried like electronic bank transfer, and then I tried like an electronic check. None of it worked. And so I was like, well, I don't know what you want me to do then. And so I just left it alone. I think I tried again another day and it didn't work. And then I mentioned it to somebody else who goes there, and they're like, yeah, I tried it before, it doesn't work. So I was like, well, that's just my sign to like leave it alone. And one of my friends kind of mentioned to me, they're like, oh, like, are they like an affirming church? And I was kind of like, I don't think they're like openly affirming. Like, they don't like state that they are or anything, which to me means that they're not. And so things like that, you know, like I feel like a lot of maybe straight people don't always consider things like religious things, spiritual things, community types of places. You know, you don't really go into it too much looking for, are these people openly stating that they accept people like me? I mean, I do have some friends that are very kind of like, they'll make it known what their stance is and things, but I don't know how many people go just kind of like choosing things like that, or or whatever. Maybe it's more than I think, but maybe not. But that's just like one example. And then also the reason why I mentioned that kind of background is because what I was listening to last night, the reason why I like that church is because, they have, I guess they're called clergy members. Like, they have people who have like, office positions in their church that are trans people, all kinds of genders, all kinds of sexualities, all types of age ranges and ethnicities and things. And so, I kind of gravitate towards that, even though it's like, sometimes I'm not really like listening to things because I'm like, oh, it's church, like it's more like this just kind of suits my mood for now, kind of thing. And I was kind of just in that mood yesterday, so that's what I wanted to consume at the end of my day, was that kind of stuff. I was like, well, if I'm going to listen to something, I'd rather just turn on that church. And especially as things get closer and closer to Easter, like, people who know me, you probably know Easter is like one of my least favorite holidays because it's so depressing and I don't really like it. But, when it comes to church, a lot of people go to church during Easter. And it's just like, I don't really like holiday church services too much because they're always like the theme of whatever the holiday is. And I know it sounds stupid, but it's not really my thing. It's like, because like every year it's like the same thing. It's like, okay, Christmas, we know. Like, I just wish there was like a church that just like was just doing their own thing and just like ignored it and just like, oh, if we want to talk about Christmas, we'll talk about Christmas or whatever. Like, I wish that it wasn't all, I'm kind of the same way with like shows. Like, back when I used to watch sitcoms and like show series and stuff, and like I didn't really like it when they'd have like the Halloween episode and like, whatever, like the New Year's Eve and Thanksgiving episode and like all this kind of stuff. Like, usually I don't like those episodes. So I was kind of like, not really into it, if that makes sense. But, I'll still go back and watch them, but I just it's just a little overkill with the themes, like the holiday themes, because it's like every single thing is kind of like, you go to work, you go to school, when you go shopping, when you go out, it's like all your messages, all your spam mail is all just like advertising towards whatever holiday it is and all. It's just kind of a little bit much, and they always start like before and then after. And so, as Easter approaches, I was kind of like, I might want to start listening to a little bit of church on occasion, but I don't want to wait till Easter, because freaking Easter, it's going to be like all Easter all the time for like probably 2 to 3 weeks. And so I was like, let me just listen to this now, because, it might start becoming more Easter themed soon. And so, late night mindset. And so, I went to turn that on, and I was kind of like, okay, like, this is kind of different, like, because I don't like listen to that kind of stuff all the time, but, when I do want to listen to it, there are certain churches I'll listen to because I know that they're like affirming churches and they're like open-minded people, and they actually take care of their communities locally and the people who are members of their congregations and things. And so to me, that's kind of more my style. I mean, nothing's gonna be perfect, and I'm not even saying that like I attend there much. Like, I try to go there maybe once or twice a year because it's up in Hollywood, and like I try to go there once or twice a year, but it's not like it's close. It takes me like an hour to drive there, so just for church, it's kind of like, it's a lot. But I like the singing and all that kind of stuff, and so I was like, okay, like, I think their lead singer is a lesbian. She's like openly out, and like the dress codes aren't really Like, I'll see them wearing like t-shirts and jeans and stuff like that. Like, it's not, too uptight. And so I don't know. Like, I'm wondering if straight people have the same reaction, you know, towards choosing things for diversity reasons. Like, I'm pretty sure when it comes to ethnicities, I've seen people do that, especially with like languages. Like, people choose churches based on what language they speak, or kind of like the style of music that they like and things like that. And like, I'm not just going to talk about church, but I mean, that's kind of like the most immediate thing where I was like choosing something based on like queer related stuff. Got up this morning, kind of considered what I was going to eat because I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for my morning schedule. And I was like, well, I'm going to go to the gym. So I kind of ate accordingly. And then, while I was eating, I was watching some queer content of some kind. It was probably some Ashley Gavin thing, some of her comedy content. I don't remember exactly what I was watching. I mean, most of my Instagram is all gay. Like, there's, other than my straight friends that are on my Instagram, like, all of it's pretty gay. It's almost all, like, LA content creators and just, like, gay as can be. And then it's just, like, friends. So, I think maybe some cousins and parents or whatever. But, yeah, so I don't think most straight people have that much gay Instagram stuff that they follow. I'm trying to think of too, like, because today was a little different. Like, I don't usually start my mornings like going online too much, but I kind of just felt a little like, let me just do it this morning, because like I kind of stopped doing that. I kind of like stopped tuning into my phone early and like checking emails first thing. Most of my emails are junk anyways. Like, the only emails I get that I like are from my brother. And then I think, like, on a rare occasion, I'll get like a notification about some other type of thing that I may have subscribed to in the past, that they're like, oh, this is new, so like come and like get this or whatever. And so like on occasion it'll be something like that. Like, I'll scroll through my emails, but most of them are like junk. And then I've got some stuff that just, I'm trying to unsubscribe from, that just keeps coming, and just like, dear God. But yeah, the Instagram thing, the stuff I watch on YouTube, I'm reading Aina Brian's book, as you guys know. She's a queer content creator. The other two books I was reading were queer content creators. I kind of, I went to the gym, did the gym thing. And, that was fine. Of course, the clothing I choose is according to what I prefer to wear. And kind of like a shirt to change as usual. Because I went into the steam room as the last part of my day there, and I'm always gonna be, it's just complete, it's steam, so it's like really, it's humid and sweaty, and so I went in the steam room, and I'm not gonna just go like, I changed my shirt, before I left the actual gym, but I was like, I'm coming straight home to shower. Did that, chose my clothes accordingly, chose my lunch according to, what I wanted for lunch and protein and calories and things. Jumped right back into the queer content, for entertainment purposes. And then, yeah, I mean, that was most of my day and afternoon. And, I was kind of wondering the other day, I was kind of like, I wonder how much, like, queer-related kind of stuff I get up to. Like, I was even looking online, and I was like, okay, what events are going on locally? Because I'm pretty much free till, like, Sunday morning, so I was like, let me see if something's going on around town. Like, just in case, I have visitors or something, because I never really know. I don't really have people visit that much, but I kind of like to know what's going on around town. And there were a couple things that I saw that I was like, okay, some stuff's coming up on Saturday. But again, queer events, like in LA. One of them, I can't remember if it was a queer event or not. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. But I think there were like 2 events I was looking into. I can't remember now, but yeah. And, I kind of started thinking about it, I guess this morning, or I think it was this morning, because I was thinking about, how much time is kind of spent, because I don't really watch TV, and somebody made a comment in some other religious, I think it was like a Jewish religious person who's making a comment. I think it was on Drew Binsky's YouTube channel when he was with this other, I don't know if his name's Shlomi, but there's this Hasidic guy that they've kind of befriended one another, and he was kind of making YouTube content and got permission from a rabbi to do a Shabbat dinner filming, because you're not really supposed to be like using cameras and filming on the Sabbath and all this kind of stuff, but they got some kind of special permission. And I think they were talking about, in the neighborhoods where the Hasidic people live, how, you see people on flip phones, and then there's like posters around. I think he was talking to a trans Jewish woman actually about this. And there were some people who had posters around for like events coming up, and like there were newspapers and magazines that were in like Yiddish and Hebrew, and it's like their community was pretty much catering towards the people who live there, and with their language and just the content and the way they reach out to one another through posters and that kind of thing, because people aren't really online like that all the time in that culture. It's kind of more like taboo, or like, they kind of really maybe limit it. And there's a lot of, I guess speeches going around about, the internet and things like that. And I actually am very interested in that kind of content. I'm very interested just because, I was watching a video or one intro to a video that I saw by Kira Graves, another queer content creator. I saw their I don't remember what it was. It's probably one of her Women Love Women videos or something, like, because I think that's the last one I watched. And then it was, I think the intro talked about, like, she was saying that, she's doing less on social media because of anxiety and mental health. Well, she didn't say, I don't think they exactly mentioned anxiety, but I think what Kira said was mental health reasons. And I was, I've had that experience too, where I've noticed that just like my interactions with like social media, especially like TikTok and all that kind of stuff, a lot of scrolling around and stuff, it does contribute to anxiety and just kind of stress and overwhelm and like just energy use. And I kind of thought about it, I was kind of having that in the back of my mind, which is why I've kind of not really been waking up and like reaching for my phone and stuff. Like, other than the time, I don't really check much until a little later on. But yeah, like, it was kind of interesting. I was like, um, you know, um, to not be checking much other than the time, for that reason. And then I was just to hear Kira say the same thing about, like, for mental health reasons and things. And I'm pretty sure that's not uncommon. A lot of people mention, either content creators mention this or just people in general mention that, posting stuff on social media, or the pressure to post stuff, or just the reactions from posting, and all different types of aspects of dealing with social media or just consuming the content alone, does contribute to a lot of mental health related things that I think we just kind of overlook. A lot of us just overlook it because we're just kind of like, it is something you can kind of just put away. But also, it is kind of like an impulsive, like, oh, let me check this and like scroll on this, and like sometimes I realize I'm scrolling and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking for. I'll be on YouTube just like scrolling and scrolling, and I'm like, when I see it, I'll know when I want to click on it, but it's like, I try not to do that, and I try to just get it so that I only search for what I want to write in and search, by typing it in. So yeah, I would be very interested to know what angle they take with social media in that strict Jewish culture. But I also, I think there was something, I think the translator mentioned something about like some porn addiction things. Not that she had them, but that, part of the conference or the speech was kind of going to be related to that. And then the reason why I'm mentioning all that is because I think the male that Drew Binsky was talking to was the Hasidic guy. He was saying that, I think he was the one saying this, that like people don't really need to worry so much about, television in the home and what television is doing, because, most people don't even need TVs. They have internet. I think that's where, or maybe it was an Amish person that said that, but it was some strict religious culture that was saying that. And I was kind of like, yeah, it's so true. And that kind of got me thinking. I was like, well, what kind of stuff do I consume? And I'm like, I feel like everything I consume is just like gay content. I consume a lot of religious content. I consume a lot of gay content. It's not really religious from like how I was raised, but it's kind of like religious, like religious, like from other religions. Like I kind of like to learn about like really strict conservative religious beliefs. Like people who try to actually practice religions. I mean, there's something about that I like gravitate towards. Like I like that kind of content of people who maybe used to follow it or do follow it, but they're not like preaching like everybody needs to do what I say or like do what I do because I'm right and you're wrong. It's not like that. It's more like educational about like their culture and how they live and stuff. Like I tend to really like that kind of content because I feel like it's kind of like a new glimpse into worlds that, a lot of times maybe those groups get pretty misunderstood. I know I have a hard time listening to religious people, even from, the religion I grew up in. Like sometimes I just hear, I'll hear somebody say that they're from like whatever denomination. I'll be like, I don't even want to listen to anything they have to say. It's like I'm turned off to it. Even though I have plenty of family, plenty of people around me that I know are good people and are of that religion. It's kind of like there's just a lot of things that I'm just like, it's a turn off to me. Like when I hear it, I don't even want to like engage with it a lot of the time. So that's why it's kind of like I even get a little hesitant to start an episode like this 10 minutes into the episode talking about religion. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but it turns a lot of people off, like just to even hear like certain names and words and, text, like types of books and things. Like, people don't want to hear it, and I get that, I totally, because I'm the same way. And it's like, I don't really talk so much about what I believe or don't believe. I think people can kind of piece it together, but it's like, I'm a little, like, I don't mind having discussions about things that are controversial. I don't mind somebody trying to, like, rock the boat a little bit. I do like history, though. I like history, archaeology, things like that. But also that kind of stuff gets a little tampered with, too. People find ways to manipulate data to say what the story is that they would like to hear the most. They don't want to really tell the true story sometimes. But I really like some just cultural stuff in general. But yeah, I really was kind of thinking about that. Like, how much time do I spend online, and like what is that for me, and how much of it is even connected to like the straight world. Like, I think the only straight content that I consume is usually stuff about like different cultures or finance, and some of the tech stuff too. But outside of that, I really don't consume a lot of non-queer content. Like, it's mostly just queer stuff. That's the majority of what I'm most comfortable listening to, watching. Like, it's very relatable. Like, I feel like it's like, oh, these people actually talk about things that I think about. They're not just like talking about like God only knows what. I find it interesting sometimes to watch, like, I'm not knocking it, I'm just saying, like, I find it interesting sometimes to watch straight couples, like videos of straight couples talking to one another about like different relationship things, topics. I do find it a little bit interesting, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it seems like people, I don't know, with a lot of it, not all of it, but with a lot of it, it seems like people kind of fall into roles sometimes. I mean, there are a lot of people that I do follow that aren't gay. Like, Enjoy the Podcast, and Shan Boodram and those guys. They're not gay. I mean, they've made content with queer content creators that I follow, but they're not gay necessarily. I don't think any of them do like any kind of sexual stuff with queer people, like, to my knowledge. But I don't really know for sure. And yeah, like, it's just something that kind of interested me recently. The more I've kind of thought about it, I'm like, well, like, I don't have a problem with like what I consume, but it is kind of like I am pretty disconnected from like a lot of mainstream stuff, a lot of just like popular stuff. Like, I'm just like almost not even on the same page. Like, like, I've talked about, my folks like to watch TV, and the TV will be on in the house a lot. And so when I'll come into a room where there's a TV, and I'll just be like, like this stuff, I'm not really into it. I hate the news so much. Like, it's like my least favorite thing. Like, I don't even like it. It's not even least favorite. I just hate it. Like, it's not even a least favorite thing. I don't even want to put it on the least favorite. I just dislike it totally. And yeah, like, it's just something that I don't really know how to really break that kind of stuff down. Like, um how to really like describe it, but it kind of came to my mind yesterday when I was watching content and just the sequence of the stuff I just explained. And I was just, yeah, when I was listening to the religious or previously religious people talking about like the internet and stuff, just kind of how that kind of idea caught my attention. How they were saying like, yeah, well, like religious people don't even need to like think about the TV because it's not really a thing anymore. Like it's in a way almost like obsolete. Like, and people who do have TVs, a lot of times you're not watching like programmed television. Like there's apps on the TV that you're watching that you would be watching on your laptop or your tablet or your cell phone, and you're watching it on the monitor. You're using it more like a monitor to play through apps that you already stream from. So it is kind of different. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, yeah, well, I mean, the main thing that's kind of different is you search for your own stuff. It's not just you turn on a program and it's like it just happens to be that category of channel happens to be playing that exact program when you turn it on, or it's coming on in 30 minutes or whatever. And you have to wait. Like with YouTube, you just search it, and whatever you search, it could be either by topic or by by channel name or whatever it may be. It's still kind of the same idea, but it's more like you have access to way more content than you do channels on a television. Like, even though there are like thousands of channels on the television, like you still have a lot more content on YouTube and a lot more channels on YouTube. And some people post more than like weekly stuff. A lot of content creators that I follow, because a lot of them are queer, have Patreons, because Patreon, well, a lot of them have OnlyFans and stuff too. But a lot of them have Patreon, because, you can pay for that content, and it's like, because a lot of their content gets demonetized by YouTube and gets taken down, and so they just have the other platforms that they use where people can subscribe monthly to pay for their content. And usually you're getting so much more content than you would with like a TV show. Like when you're watching TV, it's like most shows come out at most for the season once a week. Like you don't really have shows too much unless it's like, I don't know, kids shows like Barney and stuff like that, where they post something like every day or whatever. I don't even know if that's still on, if Barney still is on. But like stuff like that though, where it's like, there's more like, other than like daily shows and like talk shows and that kind of stuff, there, and like sports, there's not that much TV type of content that's doing more than like once a week per type of show. But yeah, on Patreon, you're getting all kinds of stuff for a pretty low rate when you think of it. Like, I think the most I've paid for Patreon so far, I think there was a $12 a month subscription, and then one that was like $10 I think it was like $54 a year or something like that. And a lot of them, they have tiers that are like $1 a month or like $5 a month. Like, it's not that much money, in all honesty. Like, it adds up, of course, but it's not that much money considering the amount of content you get. If you like the content, it's like I said, I follow Ashley Gavin's content, and she has like multiple tiers, but you can pay, I think, from $1 a month to like $100 or something like that, and you're getting so much content. And there's like Discord and all this other kind of stuff. And then like she goes on and she's got other podcasts with other friends, and they've got Patreons attached, and like they've all got their own channels, like different channels, independent YouTube channels, Patreons. They all do other stuff on the side. A lot of people have like a lot of different platforms that they work from. A lot of queer people do, because they kind of are forced to, because YouTube just isn't going to dish out like they used to, because the algorithms are biased and prejudiced. So the people writing them are writing it so that people can't post and get paid. Like, you can post, but it's not going to get recommended. It's not going to get pushed. It's not going to stay monetized. You might not get certain ads or whatever. But yeah, that's how they keep the content under control, so they think. But then it's like, now I'm wondering how these other platforms are doing, like how they're kind of blowing up, if they're like actually catering towards queer people and underrepresented people to be able to have a voice, because somebody's basically paying you, so for your content. And so I just wonder about that. It's kind of a question I would have. And I don't know, some of these platforms are kind of taking it too far, and they're getting a little bit too like Big Brother-ish, like but I don't know, like I don't even know why I'm recording about this. It's just kind of a topic that interests me, just like the internet in general, because I've seen the evolution of it. And I feel like I kind of want to have more of a philosophical, spiritual discussion about it. Maybe not here, but that's kind of like where my mind goes. It's like, what are the topics that are coming up? It's something that kind of interests me. I'm not really gonna do it, like disconnect from everything, but I have practiced, like, I wouldn't say I do this anymore, just because my schedule got real weird, but I did practice to some extent a form of like disconnecting from internet for a while, like for weekly, not the whole week, but like about 24 hours weekly. Sometimes it was very anxiety provoking, just like, I'm like, I don't want to sit here by myself, like it was different if I had plans and had other stuff to go do, but it was like, just to disconnect from media, from digital media for a long time, for like a day, is hard. And I feel like when I practice it more and I get used to it, it's easier. But when I'm not practicing it, it can be pretty difficult. So yeah, I don't really know. I think this topic probably has more to it, but I just kind of wanted to record about that because it was kind of something that was coming to my mind. But yeah, let me try to find the things I was listening to. Let me see. Is it gonna shut me off? So I think there was the episode, I think it was Eli Yoder interviewing Elmer Miller, and then it's called Amish Q&A with Elmer Miller. And then there's this other episode, I'm trying to find the Drew Binsky one. Drew Binsky, The Secret World of Hasidic Jews in New York. And so they were, I don't remember which religious group said it. I think Drew Binsky is Jewish, but he's not Hasidic. And then I found it interesting, but it was just kind of like one kind of comment that kind of sparked kind of an idea that I was kind of like, I wonder what it would be like to live in a community where you didn't have internet, because it's kind of like I could see people gravitating towards like, specific content for like their cultural values and just ignoring everything else, because I feel like that's kind of what I do. Like, I kind of only consume content that I want to see, and I kind of just ignore everything else, like, and then it's almost like jarring when I like go to the gym or go get gas or something, and there's like a TV monitor there or something that's just like pumping me information about like something that I have, like, I am like so disconnected from like any of it that I don't even know what's going on. And I'm just like, what is happening? I was in the steam room today, and like these guys are in there talking about some kind of Russian politic type of thing, and I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, and I'm glad they stopped talking because I didn't want to hear it, but it's kind of like that kind of thing. Like, I purposely shut myself off from a lot of stuff going on in the world, because I'm like, it doesn't bring value to my life to know about it. Like, I don't want to be so in the dark. Like, I mean, even with COVID, when it first started, I didn't even know what the heck was going on. I thought it was like the swine flu or something, where it's just like, oh, another one of these, like, whatever. Like, I didn't think it was going to lead to like what it led to, I had no clue. And when people were asking me about it, I was like so ignorant in what I was saying, because I had no idea what they were talking about. Because I don't follow anything. And I mean, I knew about it, but of course, like, after a while, I was like, well, I have to know about this because we're getting emails through work, and like, we're talking about it all the time at work. And then it started becoming more of like something I had to talk about, because it was related to like everyday healthcare and everyday kind of like activities, like shopping, and like, can you even legally leave the house at certain times when they kind of had that curfew and everything. It was nuts, but that's how I prefer to live my life, and I connect with what is meaningful to me. Like, even if there is some stress to it as well, like, it's not completely unstressful, but I feel like it would be a better like philosophical kind of conversation, not so much on here at the moment, but that's just kind of like my introductory thoughts to it, because it's kind of like, like, it's something to think about. But that's kind of all I had to say. Just wanted to post something kind of random, because I'm outside enjoying some sun, and wanted to kind of just do something a little bit on the productive end of thinking. But alrighty, that's it for now.